When I was little, I didn't quite understand what my mom's actual occupation was. She would leave at all hours of the night, come home in the early hours of the morning, then wake up at 7 to be back at work at 9. Sometimes she would leave the house in a business suit and heels, other times she would come home in scrubs and tennis shoes. If she wasn't home by 5, she would be home by 8 or 9, and then some days she just wouldn't even go to work. People would make comments like, "Why would you want to do that?" or "Does that not bother you?" She would simply say that someone has to do it. My mom is a funeral director and mortician at the local funeral home in my hometown. As a funeral home employee, she has to work delicately with not only the deceased, but with the living as well, their families, their business, and their grievance. My mom's day might start off with the first call. According to the Mississippi Code of 1972, the first call means the beginning of the practitioner and or funeral establishment to take charge of human body and or have the body prepared for burial or disposition by embalming, cremation, or another method. Once the deceased has been considered deceased by the coroner, the funeral home is contacted. The funeral home personnel may ride to the place of death, and once there, they will gain pertinent information. This information includes things like date of birth, the parents' names, maiden names, highest degree of education, and the personal appearance details for the funeral. When the funeral home has taken possession of the deceased, that's when the mortician is contacted. Once the mortician begins his or her job, the first thing they do is the inspection. This is just to make sure that the skin is intact and the right chemicals can be used. Things like jaundice, edema, or dehydration may cause the skin to tear. The next steps done are for them to be shaved and for the mouth and eyes to be closed. This is when the embalming process begins. Embalming is just consistent of injections of different chemicals into the body and removal of human body fluids. This needs to be done within 6 to 8 hours after death. This is a Mississippi law. According to the Mississippi Health Department, a dead body or fetus shall be buried, cremated, or otherwise disposed of within 48 hours of death unless the body has been embalmed by a licensed embalmer or unless the body is kept under refrigeration. After embalming is aspirating, then they are bathed, and then they are cosmetized. This may consist of their hair being fixed, makeup put on, and their clothes being put on. After this, they are casketed, and the body is taken into the viewing area. While this is going on, arrangements are being made by the family. This can be done the day of or a few days after the death. Vital statistics are taken for the obituary and for the death certificates. And then the arrangements for visitation, the burial, and the actual funeral services are made also. And then sometimes the financial obligations are taken care of. This can be done in payment plans because funerals can cost from $5,000 to $20,000. Once the arrangements are made, that's when the services can begin. The first thing is the visitation. The funeral home is asked to arrive or the family is asked to arrive an hour prior to the visitation to make sure that all appearances are okay. Some people may add things to the casket or want to change something of the appearance of the deceased. And this is when the decision is made for the casket to be opened or closed. Then, after the family has 30 minutes to an hour to view the body and spend time with each other, that's when the public viewing occurs. Public viewing is when a guest book is signed, memories are shared, and recollection of life events are given. The next thing that might happen is the funeral. At the funeral, music is played, reading of the obituary happens, more music, and then the message, and then committal service. This is not the way some places do it. It's just a personal opinion. The South does it much different. After this is the burial. After the funeral, the casket is put into the coach, and from there is taken to the cemetery. The coach, as many of the people south consider, is called a hearse. A hearse is actually a horse-drawn carriage that carries the deceased, but because this is not 1800s, we consider it a coach. There is a police escort from the funeral home or church to the location of the burial. The escort will go like the police, minister, escort vehicle, the coach, the family, and then friends will follow. At the burial service, that's when the interment services occur. After the burial, the closure of the grave happens, and then the removal of funeral home equipment is removed. This is things like the lowering device, the tent, the grass, and the chairs. That's usually how the typical funeral goes, but here are a few fun facts. Throughout the whole funeral process, the family of the deceased is constantly reminded that they are supported and their needs, questions, and concerns can be helped or asked by along with the funeral home. And also the funeral home will stay in contact with the family. Things like financial obligations or death certificates or just condolences will be giving throughout the next few months. Today I've talked to you about what all funeral home employees' day may consist of, whether it be working on the deceased or the family of the deceased. Instead of jumping into conclusions and assuming that working at a funeral home is a wild and strange idea, maybe you have more respect and deeper understanding of what a funeral home employee does and what all happens in their day-to-day life. So if you're in the market for finding a career or looking for a job, the funeral home is always looking to hire. After all, the business never dies.